All right, ladies and gentlemen. I have one. All right. Good morning, everyone. Let's settle down. We're going to get. This is your 1 minute warning. So, if the representatives that have a proposition, Petrie, Bell, well, you know who you are. Fleming, Holcomb, if they could just step right over here, that's fine for a second. I don't know, talk about the batting order. All right, after that great sidebar, we still don't know what order we're going to go in, but we're going to figure it out. We have 5 items on the agenda, HB 56, HB 853, HB 1224, HB 1231, and HB 1274. Those are the items we have today. Some we've heard before, and they could be available for action if they're right for the committee's action. Others, this will be the first hearing on these items. We are going to be a bit pressed for time since we're all started and there's a meeting schedule behind us. So we're going to manage the time as much as we can and give everybody the opportunity to speak, but we may have to come back if we're going to get all the speakers. With that, if there's no objection, that's the agenda and that's how we'll proceed. Hearing none, that's what we'll do. So the first item we're going to have is HB 1274. Representative Huddleston, if you tell us your proposition, just read us just so that we're on the same page, make sure we have the same LC you have. I think it's the original bill, is it not?
Yes, sir. This is 1274. It'll be LC 460801. Will be what I'll be working on.
And would you like to bring President Riley up there with you? You're welcome to do that. She's going to talk to you about.
Yeah,
she's good. Okay, there you go.
Whoever you may be.
Carry on.
All right. Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the committee. Basically, this bill, what this does is a tuition reimbursement program for veterinarians. Basically, this was a program that had originated back in 2016. And we in Georgia still see a need for large animal food industry vets in the rural communities of Georgia. So what we're working with here within this bill is basically just revamping it and enhancing it to create that more of an incentivization. And basically what this tuition reimbursement program is for students and former students of less than 10 years to apply for this tuition reimbursement. Basically, we're looking you could not exceed of 80,000, but we made a change on line 27 not to exceed 75,000, and basically it was in populations in those rural communities of 35,000 and less. That was the 2010 census, so we took it from 2020 to make it 50,000 or less. And a report I have is basically there's 118 counties, population less than 50,000 in the state. So that shows that, like I said, that's how many counties could be impacted by this program, providing large animal food industry vets in those communities. Probably the two big good things about this bill is basically we raised it from $20,000 to $25,000 per 12 months reimbursement. But this program was set up to basically be a one-year program, and then you'd have to reapply the second year. We had talked to some veterinary students that had been part of the program, and a lot of times you may apply for that first year but not know if you'll be have that opportunity for that second year. So basically what we did is change this to basically a 3 consecutive years. So basically once a veterinarian basically applies for this program, they'll be for 3 years eligibility. Basically after that first year, there is some criteria of serving 20 hours per week in those rural communities. So there is some checks and balances. And I've worked along with the veterinary board. Basically, it'd be their job to work along with the Finance Commission of overseeing this program. And basically each recipient is only eligible one time within this length of stay. So that's pretty much the bill. It's just enhancing what we've got to better incentivize of having veterinarians in the rural communities of Georgia.
Thank you, Representative. If you have a couple of questions, if you would stand for those.
Yes.
Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill. Question, what is the average tuition for a person going into veterinary?
I asked that question a few weeks ago out of the same concern, and they said basically a graduating student would have about $180,000 worth of debt or expenses.
So further question, so this would account for about a third-ish of their, a little bit less than a third.
Right. It would give an incentive of that $75,000 toward that tuition assistance. And the ask is, like I said, them serving as a large animal food industry vet in those communities of a need.
And then last question, for individuals who are within this 10-year period, but maybe they have defaulted on their loan, are there opportunities for them to take advantage of this, or are they excluded from this program?
I think you have an opportunity to apply one time, and for some odd reason, if you default within that loan, then you're not eligible.
Thank you.
Further questions? Further questions?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Representative Huddleston, thank you for this bill. This is a great bill. We do need help in the large animal vet, especially in the rural areas. I know I'm losing my vet up in my county and to retirement, and we hope that this will be an incentive to get people down here and get them educated and get them out here working. So I appreciate the bill. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'd like to add one little quick thing to that. Basically, like I said, it's veterinarian serving less than 10 years, and I was curious about that to begin with. But you get to thinking, like I said, you may have a 4 or 5 year vet that's serving in a small animal practice with an education of large animal, and this would give them the opportunity to apply for this and actually serve in those communities. So thank you.
One time they can go through this
Yes,
and be eligible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Further questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But they are eligible for a 3-year program.
Yes, ma'am. It's that you apply for the program one time, but you're eligible for 3 consecutive years.
Okay.
I think, Representative, the way it was, I mean, if you go real way back, you used to get a scholarship, an athletic scholarship for a 4-year period. Now you get it 1 year at a time. We're going the other way here. If they get into the program, they know they're going to have it for 3 years, as opposed to being afraid they make a change in life, maybe move to a county, and they only have it for the 1 year.
Yeah.
So this gives them a little more predictability. Good question, ma'am.
Thank you.
Question.
Thank
Number
you.
25. Yes, Representative Glaze.
Thank you so much for bringing this bill. I do want to clarify, and I don't know if I didn't just understand the question from Dr. Clark, but again, if there is a student who defaulted on their phone, they are a veterinary, they willing to work in rural Georgia, can they not go into this program to help pay for the balance of their loans? Because I don't see where it says that they cannot.
And I may not understand the question, but I was going to say basically this is a graduating student or a veterinarian of less than 10 years can apply for debt reimbursement, and basically you apply one time within this 10 years.
Yeah,
You're eligible
yes,
for
so
it.
it sounds like
Let
it.
me help us out here.
Yeah.
Is President Riley still with us, or did she have to step away? President Riley, will you join him up here? I'm gonna put you on the spot. We'll get to the, because this plan is administered currently by your group, right? Okay, if you would, I think you can wind us up here in just a couple minutes. So I think basically the question is, if you make an application, is it a single source of the fact that you've defaulted on a loan payment to the federal government? Does that keep you, or a previous student loan payment, does that keep you from being eligible for the program currently?
Yes, it does. You must not have defaulted on any federal or Georgia loan to be eligible for this program.
And that's in current law, and it would,
That is
this is not impactful for that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions for the author of the bill? Representative, if you want to just hang out there, we have one person signed up to talk, and then I'll come back to you for close. Yes, Jake. Yes, sir.
Thank you, and I will be brief. I appreciate
Tell
you.
us who
Yes,
you are
sir.
and who you're with.
Jake Tench. I'm with Georgia Agribusiness Council. We are a trade association that represents kind of the entire swath of the agricultural industry, and we also represent Georgia Veterinary Medical Association. We've worked with them, Georgia Cattlemen's Association, Representative Huddleston, and we are all in support of this bill. We think that the need is great across the state for large animal food vets, and we think that this program, revamping it in this way, will encourage people to go back to those communities that they may or may not want to otherwise, and incentivize them to set roots up in these counties and provide services that are much needed to this industry. So thank you again to you all. Thank you, Representative Huddleston, for your work on this, and we appreciate and provide our support.
Thank you. I'll go back to you to close, but we're time. I think you have a winner, unless you have anything else you want to add.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing me
Okay,
to be here
here's
today.
the posture. We're hearing these as we look around. We do not have a quorum to take action at this time, but I hear from the committee members that you seem to look fondly on this, and maybe on some other matters we're going to have. In order to give these propositions, time to meet our Wednesday crossover date, we will meet tomorrow. I'm not sure when we've got the room. I'll let that be known, but I will get you in and out. But I want to just express to everybody now how important it will be for you to be able to come and be with us tomorrow if we are to move some of these measures. So with that, if there's nothing further from the representative, this is the first hearing on this, and we'll move on to the next item, and we'll let you know as soon as we can.
Thank you.
I suspect you'll be able to join us tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Representative Chairman Petrie, you want to tell us about your proposition, your substitute to House Bill 56?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for letting me go so quickly. I have two bills to present at the same time, as we're all familiar with here. Mr. Chairman, I bring you today a substitute you should have before you on House Bill 56, which is LC 394260S. I hope everyone has that. Correct, Mr. Chairman. What we do very simply here, Mr. Chairman, we have currently, as I know this body is well aware, the Georgia Public Safety Memorial Grant administered through the Georgia Student Finance Commission, and I'm thankful that Ms. Riley and Ms. Corbett are here today to answer any questions as necessary as well. But what this does very simply, that grant, of course, is available to children of law enforcement officers, firefighters, prison guards, and what we're doing here, you'll see on line 19, is expanding that grant assistance to the spouses and. You'll see the addition of spouses and. So we're adding spouses as well to the children when we have these individuals who are killed or permanently disabled in the line of duty, which is what these grants are for. So in the line of duty, we're already providing this for children. We have remaining spouses who obviously are going to suffer an economic hardship because of the loss of one of these individuals in the line of duty. And so I want to expand that to the spouses as well, so they can best support their family going forward. That grant currently, Mr. Chairman, has about $3.8 million in reserves. And there's data from GSFC. We're awarding about $500,000 a year. In 2023, it was 586, actually a little more than that. In 2022, 690,000. So we're educating about anywhere from 30 to 40 children a year of fallen officers or firemen or prison guards who have been killed or permanently disabled in the line of duty. And this would simply award that for spouses. As you also probably know, the maximum on this in any one academic year is $18,000. And of course, the eligibility timeline is basically 4 years.
Thank you, Chairman Petrie. And you have a definition of in the line of duty.
Yes,
that's
sir.
been added. That's just to bring that into
Yes, sir.
to
It's
provide that as a defined term, whereas in the previous bill it was leaning on the general interpretation of line of duty. So this actually makes it easier for people to ascertain. Removes an obstacle, I suppose, from somebody availing themselves of the grant. Correct?
It does, Chairman, from basically line 29 through 40 there, explain quite well, define it quite well, and I think appropriately.
Thank you. You have a couple questions.
Yes, sir.
Representative Bernal. She's
Thank
to
you,
your
Mr.
left,
Chairman.
down here.
Thank you for the bill. As a daughter of a police officer, I can appreciate this. I had one question, do they still get HOPE with this?
I don't think this encumbers in any way the Hope Scholarship. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so-
ma'am. That's my understanding, but the department's nodding, so I think that clarifies.
Yeah, to be clear, this doesn't get them HOPE, but if they otherwise qualify,
No,
I don't
but
think they would be prohibited
They would
from.
have the same access.
No, I just
as-
meant if they qualify.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And then the other thing is, when I first came here, I did a bill for Gold Star Fathers who did that resolution. And maybe next year you can include their children
And say
for
that
Georgia.
again.
We have a Gold Star Fathers resolution for the state of Georgia where we recognize Gold Star Fathers on November 9th. And I said, maybe next year we can recognize their children, add
Thank you for
them.
the comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Clark, Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I apologize. I'm a little I don't know much about this grant program. So the people who are eligible now, whether they be children or if this bill passes, spouses, are they eligible to use this at a public or private institution, or is it any Georgia institution?
Very good question, Representative. So yes, at the any university system of Georgia facility, any technical college system of Georgia facility, and eligible private institutions in Georgia as well. I don't think all of them, but again,
So
yeah, pretty much. I
The-
think most of them would be fair.
GICA.
I believe, I apologize, Dr. Clark, just to interrupt. I believe I'm hearing from the corner over there that if you were eligible, if you were an approved school, we've had that before. That's in 20-3-411. Am I correct? Yes, the President Riley is doing it. So if you would be otherwise eligible to get TEG at those institutions, you could use this at that.
That was my question.
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
That's
But
great.
certainly
That's a great
private and
question.
public. Yeah.
Yes. Representative Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Clark asked 85% of my question. My only other question was, can this be used for postgraduate studies as well, or only undergraduate? Could it be used for a master's certificate, something beyond
Not to
typical?
my knowledge. I
Okay.
think this is undergraduate only, and again, if we can look to.
She fled the
I
room.
think, I think she
Oh,
fled.
she left
She,
the room.
she fled the jurisdiction.
My understanding is it's certainly limited to 4 years, and that's it actually explains, to use the proper language, 8 semesters or 12 quarter awards limit. That is the limit. But my understanding, this is only undergraduate.
Thank you very much.
And to be since we're talking about President Riley and staff after that, they are needed in Senate higher ed. So they are Senate higher ed starts at 2
Back and
o'clock. So
forth.
we're having to share that expertise this afternoon. But that's a good question. We can get that over the next 24 hours too.
I'll learn that immediately.
Yes, sir. Representative Bernard, do you have another one?
Yes, I did, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I noticed that we have a limit of 4 years. If it's for a spouse who also is taking care of children, they may or may not be able to finish within those 4 years.
Well, and of course, it's based on their semester, again, 8 semesters or 12 quarter awards. I don't think it matters that they do them necessarily consecutively, but it does limit them to that time frame of a scholarship.
Yeah, and I think that may be something that we need to work on, Representative Brown. I think since we're going to a spouse, not what we would refer to as a traditional student, if we were thinking
Correct.
that it may actually contemplate a full-time student. So we may have to deal with that as it moves through the process. At this late date, I would ask the committee's indulgence that if we can't get that worked out in the next 24 hours, that we would, work with our Senate colleagues to make sure that we fill it in. But I don't think we want to leave it on the shelf, in search of perfection, to put the measure in jeopardy. But that's a great question, Representative.
And I'll get that answer
Yeah.
as well. I'm making notes on all these good questions.
Thank you.
Representative Barnes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since we are adding a spouse, does the spouse not qualify for a be in graduate school because most likely they'll be out of undergrad?
Well, I don't know that they would most likely be out under. I mean, overwhelmingly, people across the state don't have college degrees, so I don't know that that's the case. But my understanding, again, we'll clarify that to the earlier question, but my understanding, this is for undergrad.
Thank you.
I believe most of the state, the HOPE awards, the state grants, we're trying to get people to the bachelor's level or their certificate. I think, Representative Holcomb, if you don't mind, you and I were talking earlier about trying to get that first before you get to the next thing. But those are all good questions. I don't see any further questions in the interest of time. I don't see anyone that's signed up to speak on your proposition, Chairman Petrie. But if you would get us some questions, if there's a way to address the full-time versus part-time in the next 24 hours, if you're magic and can do that, we'd certainly, I think, entertain that favorably. But in any case, we'll have you back tomorrow to talk about this. I will spread before this. Our meeting is going to be at 2 o'clock tomorrow, and I'm going to go with 2 o'clock or upon adjournment. If we can go sooner, I'm going to work on getting the room for there so that we don't have to have downtime between that, because I know people will be ready to move. But we'll do that. I'm sorry, we had a number 25. Did we have one? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Chairman. I just want to clarify, we're going to get language that would say full-time, and that would be 8 semesters, or part-time leading up to a degree.
Our goal is to try to account for the fact that a spouse may have children and may not be able to avail themselves of a full-time schedule, because I suspect the way the grant is written now is it contemplates a full-time student. So we're going to work on getting that language tomorrow. I can't, and I don't think the author can promise us that tomorrow. So we may need to move it on in good faith and continue to perfect the project.
The language for
process
part-time
as we go across,
yeah.
working with our Senator Hickman and our Senate colleagues.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
We do a lot of the hard work over here. We'll make the Senate get in there and work with us a little bit on that.
Thank you, Chairman. To the representative's question, what I'll try to do tomorrow is have the answers to all of these, and what I'll try to do is email you these answers in advance.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
But certainly have them by the time we're here tomorrow at 2 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And then we can address that more fully at that time.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
On to the next one.
Pardon me. You're welcome to present from there if you'd like. All right, we're gonna move on, ladies and gentlemen, to my 1231. Representative Scott Holcomb, if you tell us about your proposition, LC 491691.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And perhaps due to a miracle of serendipity, or perhaps due to modern technology, I think we now have a quorum. So I'll just let you know that in the event that may be relevant. So House Bill 1231 is a measure to address a gap in hope, and subsection D is the section that limits to whom the Hope Scholarship is available to. And it's available to students that have either earned a baccalaureate or first professional degree, or the student has attempted at any post-secondary institution a total of 190 quarter hours or 127 semester hours. The proposal here is for those students that are very motivated, very academically successful, and we have programs throughout the state, they may do a combined program where they pursue both bachelor's and graduate level work concurrently. And in fact, in some instances, the graduate courses apply to their undergraduate degree. We have made a policy that students can be eligible for up to 127 semester hours of Hope Scholarship. So this proposal very simply would allow those students who are in programs where they are also taking graduate level work, they could use up to 127 hours to apply towards that graduate level work. And this does affect a constituent. That's how I learned about the idea and the gap. And in terms of a policy, this century, the whole competition is going to be based on human capital and how well we train our people. And so this is just another way that we can, for very, very highly motivated, gifted, talented students, give them an opportunity to use what they could use for a bachelor's, but for advanced graduate level study. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
I think you do have a question. Clip Park, is that you, number 17? Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Holcomb, thank you for the bill. Is it not true that this is somewhat similar to the Merit Hope Scholarship, in that, again, it awards those who are academically successful already, who've demonstrated a desire for further education, a graduate program?
Yes.
Thank you for the bill. Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd like to make a motion to pass.
It's not the appropriate time. You were just a little bit tardy at getting here. These are the first hearing we're going to hear on these. We're going to meet tomorrow at 2. I'm going to make you stay a little bit late after school tomorrow.
Thank you, sir.
Or ask you to. So I would, I do have a question. In the interest of time, I'll ask you briefly, Representative, and then we can get into detail tomorrow. My concern on this is how much the state may have spent in order to get them to that point, i.e. dual enrollment dollars. This is just my opinion, but I can see that, hey, you use your 127 hours the best way. I mean, how can we shouldn't not give you the opportunity because you've managed your time. Maybe you took more than a full load, and therefore Hope only had, pays for a full load, but you took more hours. So could you just check and see if we could put something in there that if someone had, used state dollars for dual enrollment, that those were backed out, but if they did it, AP courses without additional, state dollars at their high school and or, fully took time, with their college courses to take more than a full load to get to there. Maybe just look at that for us before tomorrow. I mean, I know you have a lot to do, but I think that would be good just to go along with that. So we have one more question, number 27.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just forgive me, I'm just now looking at this bill, and I just have a question. So lines 22 through 25, who continuously met the achievement standards provided for while earning a baccalaureate degree, and who within 18 months of earning such degree. So I guess my question there is, and help me clarify and just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Let's say the student has achieved their bachelor's degree, and let's say they used what is the maximum, 127 semester hours. So let's say they achieved their bachelor's degree and it took them 120 semester hours to do that. And you're saying after they graduate, right? Within 18 months of having earned such degree, so they graduate, and you're saying they have up to 18 months, they could come back and apply the additional 7 hours towards a graduate degree. Am I understanding that correctly?
Potentially, yes. And the case study for the student who's a constituent, she only did AP courses, so she paid for those, and I think the state pays for one, and then all the others. And she will have her bachelor's after only 87 hours, but she's concurrently pursuing an MPA from the University of Georgia, and which is one of the top programs in the country. And so within a very limited period of time, she'll max out, or she will not even come close to maxing out her Hope dollars. And the idea would be to still let her use what she would otherwise have for additional baccalaureate study. And so this will push people over the line in terms of graduate study. And for some, it may help get them all the way there. For some, it might just get a head start. But I would still even submit in that circumstance, it should be supported, because we want to have as many people pursuing graduate education as possible, just like we want to have as many people pursuing college education.
Thank you. I may have some more questions later, but thank you, Mr.
And I believe you did the 18 month, within the 18 months, so that we wouldn't have to figure out how to go back if somebody had been out for 3 years or 6 years or 10 years, because Hope's been around for a minute.
Exactly, and I won't claim total authorship of that. That was with sketching out the ideas, that was the flexibility that Legislative Council thought would be appropriate to have to make sure that we would help the class of people that we're trying to help.
Yes, sir. Are any further questions, gentlemen, on the item? All right, well, we will look, I have one, Representative Bernal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you, can you tell us what degree they are pursuing in undergraduate?
I think it has something to do with like government or political science or something like that, if I had to guess, because the master's work is in public administration.
Okay. The only reason why I asked that is that, say, for example, the person was majoring in things like sociology or psychology. They would have to have a master's in order to get a job. So it would, be fitting for them to be able to use the rest of their Hope money. Thank you.
Thanks, Representative. I would just, if you would, check on how we might capture, the funding that might have been used. I'm not, me personally, I'm not so that if they use some, that means they're disqualified. I'd just like to get kind of my hands around that with, and then maybe check with student finance if they have an idea of what kind of an impact. Because if it were to move and if we were to go forward, I think we're going to get the question of what sort of impact this could potentially have. Like, I don't know if we keep up with how many people graduate with Hope dollars left.
Yeah.
But it would be something I'm sure President Riley can help us with.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing us. Is your constituent here that would, Representative, is your constituent here, would they care to be recognized, or they're probably in Athens working very hard?
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. And I should have known the answer to that before I asked. If she's that far ahead, she's doesn't have time for us.
But I'll send her your regards, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
All right, we'll move on in the agenda. We have two items left. We're going to go to Chairman Fleming and let him tell us about HB 1124. What I have, Chairman Fleming. I'm sorry, 1224. I knew that was going to happen. We had that the other day. We actually had 1124 in the committee. We have 1224, LC 491829. I think there's some pretty substantive changes in here. You're welcome. You're welcome to do it from there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll bring to you House Bill 1224. This comes from this all session. We had a subcommittee on dual enrollment and tuition equalization grants. So this large part of this is coming from findings from this committee. But I'll go through, because I spent a good bit of time on this. We spent a good bit of time this last Wednesday in committee hearings, and I do bring another sub with some things we discussed last Wednesday in the meeting. But I'll go through the bill very quickly with you. The first part that you see starting on page 4 is part of Chairman Martin's language, a bill he had that we rolled into this, basically cleaning up the language, what it means to be a qualified proprietary institution, non-proprietary institution. So that's what page 4 through page 5 is, cleaning up some of the language that Chairman Martin had talked about early on in the session and one of the committee meetings we had.
The gentleman to suspend for just a second. I too have been called to Senate higher ed, so I'm going to turn over the meeting to our Vice Chairman, Representative Scoggins, and let him drive from here. If he's ready. People are happy with it.
Yeah.
We know there's additional work to be done.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Fleming.
Thank you, Chairman Scoggins. Section 2 talks about, as we discussed last week, addressing high-demand career fields that we talked about in our subcommittee this summer. Basically, what this would do, it would add 150% of the tuition for students in these private colleges that are in these high-demand career fields that would be outlined every year by the Workforce Development Committee to what those fields are. So nothing in that language changed from our version last week. Where we did change from our version last week, we did pull out where we had the provisionally approved schools and what that means. And added Section 3. What Section 3 is a tuition equalization grant for high-demand fields. And this lays out what the eligibility requirements to get these grants in this program. This is for proprietary and non-proprietary schools that meets all the criteria, but they are not SACS accredited. However, they will be accredited by a nationally recognized accreditation firm. That is some language that Student Finance helped and Ledge Council helped us put in there to cover some of those schools, because some of the questions we got last week was if they're not accredited by any agency. So we added the language saying they had to be accredited by a nationally recognized accreditation agency as defined by the U.S. Department of Education. And they would be eligible for, then if they meet all these criteria, they would be eligible for the high demand career field grants under this program. Pretty much a lot of this language, 148 through 174 on page 7, stayed the same, except adding that they had to be accredited from another recognized agency. So that's pretty much the changes to the sub, Mr. Chair. Be happy to take any questions. I know I've talked to a lot of members between last week and this week. I appreciate a lot of y'all's feedback and working with us on these changes. I appreciate Chairman Martin on a lot of the work he's put on this, and President Riley and the Student Finance Commission.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Fleming. I know you've worked hard on this bill, and it's been in here 2 or 3 times, and we've vetted it real good. So we got a couple of questions. I think number 1, is that Representative Holcomb?
No, that's me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Clark.
Yes.
Dr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know that we spent today talking more about Section 3, but I do want to go back to Section 1 really quickly and clarify line 82 for the approved proprietary schools. They only have to be located in Georgia, as opposed to the approved non-proprietary schools, which have to or cannot be owned and operated by a state other than Georgia. Is that true?
I'm sorry, can you state that question again?
So for the non-proprietary schools, they cannot be owned and operated by a state other than Georgia.
That's right.
But for the approved proprietary schools, unless I misread, it looks like they just have to be located in the state.
That's correct.
But they can be owned and operated
That is
by
correct.
another state.
Outside, yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, number 12.
Thank you,
Representative
Mr. Chair. I just had a couple of questions. We seem to be improving all these different grants. And so, just as our previous speaker, are individuals going to be eligible for all these different grants?
So current schools that are under the tuition equalization grant program now will remain eligible for the grants that they have now. What this new grant program does are students who aren't in the program and schools that may not be, that if they are in a high demand career field, they will get this new grant, which is 150% of the tuition.
Okay.
So it's very much the same as we discussed last week when we were talking about the provisional schools. We just cleaned that language up to make sure those schools were accredited by some accreditation agency.
Okay. I just have one more question. Being that, and I don't normally say this out loud, but everybody knows it's a fact. Clayton County Public Schools lost their accreditation. And so it's pretty sensitive to me that we would just kind of let them kind of fluff that, you know, they could be accredited by so-and-so. Because see, we had to be accredited by SACS, and that was a big deal for our kids, and that was a big reason why a lot of our kids, seniors at that time. Now, our superintendent at the time was able to find another agency that did give us accreditation. So I just kind of have some questions about just finding agencies
Right.
to go out and credit other
Well,
than SACS.
And I think that's why, and I find that in the bill we say it has to be, and there are a lot of agencies out there that will credit you, but these are agencies that are recognized by the U.S. Department of Education, and there is a list that the student finance works on off that. So these aren't just any rogue accreditation agencies out there that are willing to give you that accreditation. These are ones that are recognized by the United States Department of Education.
Okay, well, as long as everything stays equal, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you. And that was one of the, that's why we added that language, because I think we talked, Representative Jackson and I talked about that last week in committee, that we wanted to tighten that up a little. So that's why we worked with student finance to tighten that up.
Thank you. Representative Jackson?
I think he just answered the question. I was concerned about the accreditations. You know, everybody comes up and they're accredited by somebody.
That's right.
And so we would have to vet these agencies in order to say they're qualified to meet what we want to do.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whip Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author of the bill, appreciate the good work. Is it not true that this bill is narrowly tailored to only ensure that select institutions that essentially educate and train Georgia students for high career demands would otherwise be eligible for this?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, any other questions? None. I don't think we have anybody signed up to speak. No? Okay, any further discussion from the committee? None? Okay.
Right.
Okay, this is the second, maybe third time we've heard this bill.
Yes.
Third time, okay. So at this posture, the committee is open for a motion. Yes,
So asking for, on this particular bill?
yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry?
No,
Because this is the second, we had the hearing first hearing last week. Yeah.
This has been heard at least 2 times, maybe 3 times, so
That's 1224.
1224.
12,
I'm good with that, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion by Representative Carter and a second by Representative Dempsey. Any further discussion?
Who seconded?
Katie.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
I am.
Any opposition? One no? Okay. Okay, moves on to rules. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chairman.
Okay. what do we have next? Okay, Representative Bell, you want to come up to the table for your bill? 853. Okay, Representative Bell, this is House Bill 853. What LC number are you working off of?
Let me pull that up for you, Chair.
Okay,
LC number, if you should have the House substitute, LC 500612.
07, is that what you say that again?
The current version is LC 500612.
That's not the,
Doesn't, don't have the,
we have LC 500708.
the only difference is the name. Okay, great. We're working on the right one, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
The correct number is 500708S.
okay. Okay, Representative Bell, you want to tell us about your bill?
Yes, sir. This bill, HB 853, repeals the Drug-Free Post-Secondary Act of 1990, which is a bill that was written during the war on drugs. What this does for Georgia is a lot of things. Chiefly, this gives us parity to the federal act. This is a bipartisan bill that came out of the federal government, and it's a bipartisan bill in Georgia to give thousands of Georgians the hope that they need to achieve. Speaking frankly, many Georgians suffer from whether it's addiction or poverty. They suffer from ailments and they have convictions of drugs. Federally, they've removed that, and we should do the same thing. If you give me a chance, approximately 35,000 people are convicted of drugs annually, which is a huge number. So if we're talking about economic development, first, this helps also our higher ed institutions by increasing their bottom line and providing a catalyst for economic growth, prosperity, and by injecting vitality into these communities, universities, colleges, and trade schools. Moreover, this bill is the cornerstone of workforce development and human capital, which will yield further economic development. Imagine the potential unleashed when more individuals can pursue education, training, and unhindered by past mistakes. It's not just personal advancements. It's empowering our workforce for fresh talent and igniting productivity, which will foster cultural innovation and greater spending potential for citizens. Consider this too. The profound impact of quality of life, HB 853, isn't merely a policy. It's about people. It's about lifting individuals and families out of the shadows of their past and illuminating the path of brighter futures and expanding horizons. In the grand tapestry of societal changes, HB 853 emerges as an anti-poverty measure by dismantling systematic barriers and becomes the cornerstone of the fight against poverty, promising fairness, equity, and inclusion for all. And let's not forget the importance of federal parity, which FAFSA, as of July 1, 2023, removed the same provision from federal financial aid. HB 853 ensures that every deserving individual, regardless of their past mistakes, has an equal access to educational resources they need to thrive. It's about leveling the playing field and affirming the principle of equal opportunity. And so we stand at these crossroads of opportunity and progress. So let's rally behind HB 53. Let's join forces to usher a new era of positive change where barriers will be torn down and opportunities will be unlocked. Together we can make a difference. And remember, more than 35,000 people are convicted of drug charges in Georgia annually, and HB will give them a chance for redemption and a brighter future, as well as their families.
Okay, thank you, Representative Bell. Any questions? Number one would be Dr. Clark.
I just want to clarify, did you say that the federal government in July of 2023 also made it to where offenses involving marijuana and controlled substances will not preclude someone from getting financial aid via FAFSA?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Okay, Representative Glaze.
Thank you so much for bringing this bill, and I was one of your signers on this because I wanted the parity from the federal down to the state. I want to be clear where we say on line 24, or a controlled substance.
Mm-hmm.
And so would that include controlled 2 substances?
That will include all controlled substances,
Okay.
just like federal parity.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're clear about that.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically in that controlled 2 substances is opioids, and we know that we've got a scourge in throughout America, but certainly in Georgia and all parts of Georgia where our teens have had prescribed opioids and then became addicted, and then the crimes may have occurred after that.
Yes,
but and we are going to now give those students hope and bring them back into the fold to give them an opportunity to become college graduates and line up inside of our talent pool for the marketplace. I think this is a great bill. Thank you so much for bringing it.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, ma'am.
Thank you, Representative Jackson.
Chairman, yeah, I'm just happy to see this. I didn't sign this bill, did I? I don't
You have
think so.
opportunity.
No, because having worked at a university, there has always been a need for people that may have made a mistake, may have been on drugs or what have you, and you knew that they were smart, but it was something, they couldn't go to school because they didn't have the money. So I want to commend you, and with your youth and what have you, I'm sure you gave a lot of thought to this.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, this is something I know others will talk about as well, but we have to get our young people prepared to go into our institutions. So I commend you on this.
Thank you so much. That was part of the movement behind it to name it the Second Chance Education Act.
I like that.
As the governor said in Eggs and Issues and other places, it's time to give Georgians a second chance, and one
That's
mistake
right.
shouldn't count someone out for a prosperous future.
Thank you, Representative Jackson. Whip Park.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the author, again, thank you for the bill. Is it not true that this bill, all it really does is simply ensure that the state of Georgia is in line with our federal government regarding eligibility to access resources to obtain a higher education?
It is.
Would you not say that it's further true that if we're giving students an opportunity to obtain education, that it's less likely that they will become addicted to drugs or maybe even end up in the criminal justice system?
That is true.
Again, thank you for the bill.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Representative Bell, you've got a guest at the table. Do they want to make a comment before we get into the guests who are speaking?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. My name is Christopher Bruce. I am the Policy and Advocacy Director for the ACLU of Georgia. In lieu of my testimony, I wanted to accompany Representative Bell and again emphasize what has already been said in this committee. This is just a bill to go with federal parity. And again, Georgia is one of the states that has the highest correctional control in the United States. This bill will help out plenty of youth to get to college and education, to make sure that we're stopping this cycle of recidivism that is happening at a cost that is going to help Georgians and increase the amount of workers for Georgians. So this is one of the best bills that I have seen down at the Capitol. We hope that this will move forward.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Representative Brunel, you have a comment or a question?
Yes, thank you. Isn't it true or not true? I'm trying to think of the correct word. That there are lots of employers that are hiring individuals that have had marijuana charges. I think the post office is one of them. And with our shortage of workforce, this would give us an opportunity to build up our workforce by allowing them the opportunity to go back to college. And also, this is not an issue that is related to any one population of people. This is across the board.
It is true.
Thank you.
Thank you for the response.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, there's no more questions. I see from the committee, we have numerous people signed up to speak to the bill. As I call your name, you can step up to the podium, and each person that speaks will have 1 minute to speak. So our first speaker is Cindy Battles, is that right?
Thank you, committee, for hearing this bill today. I would especially like to thank Representative Bell, who has done a tremendous job working with a number of organizations, students, our own Black Youth Vote students, and just reaching out to a number of people about this legislation. Again, I know it's been said multiple times, but HB 853 is common sense legislation that lines Georgia law up with current FAFSA regulations. And students deserve a second chance at getting a good education, that will improve their life and the quality of those lives. Plus, it reduces the chances of recidivism. Not only is this good for the student, but it's good for communities in Georgia as a whole, especially as we look for ways to expand Georgia's workforce. It also decreases one aspect of a two-tier justice system that allows students whose families can afford college to overcome those barriers and get a degree, whereas students whose families cannot afford college cannot overcome those same barriers. So again, we're just fully in support of this bill. You're going to hear from a number of students, and again, thank you so much, Representative Bell. I appreciate you. I'll stand for any questions, and if not, I'll give up the podium.
Don't see any questions. You had good time, and that was right on 1 minute. So you did.
I've
good
been
job.
here a minute.
Okay, our next speaker is Ella. Is that Hector? Is that right? Okay.
All
Okay,
right.
and tell us who you are.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ella Hector. I am currently a Black Youth Vote Fellow going to Atlanta Metropolitan State College. So this bill would be a bill of redemption. Having such a contradictory ruling between the state and federal governments hold back people who are trying to improve in life. Why must somebody who made a mistake when they're 15 be affected when they're 20? When the federal government forgives you, but the state holds you back. The Georgia Hope Scholarship was an opportunity to support Georgia citizens and excel and make better. By passing this legislation, we are providing more opportunities to access higher education and make the state of Georgia a better place to thrive. By not providing this opportunity to the people of Georgia, it brings down the state as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next speaker is Fred Hope Jr.
Hey, good evening, peace and blessing, everyone. My name is Brother Frederick Hope Jr. I'm also here with Black Youth Vote. I just had a testimony, man. I've been working with youth since I was 19 years old, and I had a group of kids, 3 of them to be exact, and they was all graduates, and they was at a high school party, and the police came and they detained them for a minute, but which they gave them all a citation for marijuana. 2 of them, all 3 of them had scholarships, and two of them was going out of state, but the one that was staying in state was going to technical school, and he had the Hope Scholarship. And by him getting the citation for marijuana, he was denied his Hope Scholarship, which led him back to poverty, where our community is poverty stricken. So he lost his opportunity to go to technical college, which led him back to going back to prison, getting arrested, getting caught up in drugs and those things. The other 2 young men, which they went off to college, graduated, started their families. This young man still struggling to survive. So I think a bill such as this, man, is very powerful to not just my community, man, but to civilization. So I just wanted to just share that testimony with you all.
Thank you, Mr. Hope. Appreciate you being here today. Kishara Hope, is that right? Okay. Ramon, is it Dancy, the second? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Okay. Tell us who you are.
Good afternoon. I'm Ramon Dancy II. I attend Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy and a Black Youth Vote Fellow. I believe by forcing students to take on debt in order to get an education or to forego that education altogether, we're not only putting a burden on them, but on our entire state economy by adding more student debt and reducing opportunity. This bill expands educational freedom and in turn will also create new opportunities for students to learn and further their careers. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for being here. Joseph Francis, tell us your name and.
Good afternoon. I am Joseph Francis, a Black Youth Vote Fellow, and I attend Southwest Atlanta Christian Academy. Since this bill has already passed federally, this state bill should just be in direct relation. Without this bill, juveniles and teenagers would be saddled with debt that would be impossible to pay off in their current situation. So I thank you for this bill, Eric Bell, and I hope it passes.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Next speaker, Teresa Yarborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Eric Bell. My name is Teresa Yarborough. I'm the founder and director of the Georgia Cannabis Industry Alliance, the state's industry organization. Georgia is a state that values education and opportunity, but it is also a state that has some of the harshest drug laws in the country. Many students who have made a minor mistake in their past by possessing or using marijuana are denied the chance to pursue higher education and improve their lives. According to the GBI, there are 40,843 arrests for marijuana offenses in 2020, and 80% of them were for possession only. This policy is, many of these arrests involve young people who were otherwise law-abiding and productive citizens. However, because of Georgia's zero tolerance policy, these students are barred from accessing Hope Scholarship, a merit-based financial aid program that helps Georgia students attend eligible colleges and universities in the state. This policy is not only unfair, but also counterproductive. It punishes students for nonviolent offenses that is increasingly decriminalized or legalized in other states and countries. It deprives them of the opportunity to pursue their educational goals and contribute to the economy and society. It also wastes taxpayer money and resources on incarcerating and prosecuting people who pose no threat to public safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Yarborough. Ebony Brown.
Yes, thank you. My name is Ebony Brown, a student at Morris Brown College, and I would like to thank Representative Bell for introducing HB 853. I believe that expanding the eligibility requirements for the Georgia Hope Scholarship to include students with nonviolent drug offenses is not only a matter of fairness, but also a step towards rectifying a system that perpetuates unjust consequences for minor infractions. The current policy which forces individuals to wait 10 years before becoming eligible for financial aid again after a nonviolent drug offense is unduly punitive and disproportionately affects those who may have made a mistake in their past but are striving towards a better future. No one's educational opportunity should be jeopardized for something as trivial as possessing marijuana or committing a nonviolent drug-related offense. And by amending the Georgia Hope Scholarship to prevent students from being denied solely based on a nonviolent drug offense, we can ensure that individuals are not unfairly penalized for past mistakes, particularly when those mistakes do not pose a threat to public safety. Thank you.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Daniel Payne. I have deep ties to the University of Georgia, the Athens community. My grandparents came in the 50s, and my grandfather was an educator, a professor, and administrator at the University of Georgia. I'm the son of a UGA grad and a UGA grad myself. I really strongly agree with the measures in this proposed legislation. I think that we're all better off when people are allowed to have the ability to get an education. I think expanding it, making it more inclusive only serves to give us a better university experience and a stronger workforce. I think that one of the things I took from my years at UGA was there were a lot of great people there, but I think one thing that could always be better and is getting better is diversity of people's lived experience. So I think the kind of people who would be helped by this bill are the kind of people that we do need to see at the University of Georgia and in our educational communities and our workforce. So I think it also is just common sense that it would be bringing it into parity with the federal law. So thank you very much, and I hope you support it.
Thank you. Mariah White, did I do that correctly? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you did.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Mariah White. I am a graduate of Clark Atlanta University. I support House Bill 853 as it creates opportunity, forgiveness, and a chance to uplift and support Georgians that has made a mistake before. Everyone has made a mistake before, including myself, and I believe that everyone deserves a second chance to redeem themselves in a better light. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shar Bates.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Royce Mann. I am a student at Emory University and an organizer with RISE, a youth-led organization that fights for affordable higher education and to ensure that all students are included in our democracy. We are here to not only express our support for this bill, but also the support of over 300 students across the state who signed a petition that we just launched a few days ago. This includes students from UGA, Georgia State, Georgia Tech, Morris Brown, Spelman, Morehouse, Agnes Scott, Emory, Georgia Southern, Kennesaw State, and some additional schools as well. So it's clear that this is a bill that is resonating with students across the state. Students want to see greater access to higher education. They want their peers, no matter the mistakes that they've made, to be able to attain the future that we all want. So thank you so much for considering this bill. It's a great bipartisan piece of legislation, and I look forward to it passing.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, State Representative Eric Bell. I'm here on behalf of student from Georgia Southern. I am definitely in favor of this bill. I just want to make a quick statement on behalf of her. She is in favor of this bill because she wants to expand the Hope Scholarship, promoting a greater social and equality by ensuring all students have equal opportunity for educational advancement. I'm a resident of Georgia, and I've graduated from Fulton County schools. I've had friends that have made mistakes, and I believe that they deserve a second chance of going to university. We all have family members that have had troubles with struggling with drugs and addiction, and if we don't give them an opportunity to make the decision to better their life, what does it say for our residents in Georgia and expanding our futures for our state? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it Maya Dixon? Yes. I'm sorry, did I mispronounce?
No, it's all good, Maya.
Maya.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Hello, committee members. My name is Maya Dixon, and I'm a pay-as-you-go student at Georgia Gwinnett College. I graduated from high school with academic honors and had both athletic and academic scholarship offers, but the Hope Scholarship was the only reason I've been able to afford college. Higher education comes with an immense economic burden that can cripple students' ability to not only complete their degree, but build a life after receiving it. Without the comprehensive aid Hope Scholarship provides, we are punishing students who want to make their life better and contribute to our state, contribute to making our state a great place to live because they made a mistake early in their life. Education and the opportunity it brings are vital to reducing recidivism and providing students the needed tools to build a better life for them and their families. One mistake shouldn't determine a student's future or their ability to ever access and afford college or technical school. Denying financial aid because of a controlled substance conviction not only creates economic and social harms for students, but restricts the growth of our state. Making higher education more accessible will contribute to increased enrollment by increasing students to stay in Georgia to earn their degree, and will contribute to the development and retention of our workforce. Thank you for your consideration of this bill to ensure higher education is accessible for all of Georgia students. Please support it and pass it off committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It looks like Aram, and I don't know if that starts with an A, K or an L, so help me out.
Iram Kabani.
Say again?
Iram Kabani.
Okay.
So, thank you for having me, and thank you for taking this legislation up today, and for all the work you've been doing expanding Hope in general in this committee. We had a really big success last year expanding Hope fully for all students, but Mr. Bell bringing this bill up just brings up to attention the people that can't take advantage of it. School is a big commitment. No one takes it lightly, and the people deciding to take it up, one mistake shouldn't hinder that. Again, my name is Iram. I'm a student at Georgia State, but I also represent Georgia Youth Justice Coalition, and we are for this bill. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. We duly mark you as I guess I would put that in. And you're Chris?
Yes, Mr.
Okay, so I had you sign up. You have said your portion for that.
Forego for the amazing testimony from the community.
Yes, sir. I laughed at one time when somebody was before us for a zoning and everybody spoke in favor of it. And I went back to him for rebuttal, and he started to stand up out of the chair, and I suggested he sit down. He might have a winner. So, yeah, let me back up if I can. Is it Kashara Hope? Did you come back? Yes. I think we might have missed you at the first pass. We're going to give you an opportunity. And Shar Bates, if you're back in the room, we'll do that. And then I have a question from Representative Bernal that we'll go to next. Yes, ma'am. You can pull that down a little closer to you. There you go.
Okay. Hi, my name is Kishara. I'm here with Black Youth Vote. And I want to say, with being a 2020 graduate, I can personally say that during that time, a lot of my peers looked to cannabis for many reasons, and some of them were also caught up with it. And when it was time to graduate and further our education, those students couldn't receive the Hope Scholarship. And coming from poverty, we all needed the hope to attend the Georgia college of our choice. This bill will give an opportunity for them to receive financial aid from the state and being able to attend college.
Thank you very much. The last person we have here, not with a check mark, Shar Bates, going once, going twice. All right, we've got that done. Representative Bernal, did you have a question? Let me turn. I'm sorry. There you go.
Okay, thank you. I just want to thank you all for coming today. I know that there's always a lot of concern about our youth and what do you care about, and individuals think that you don't care, but you coming here today means that you do care about education, and you do also care about your friends and even people that you don't know, the fact that you would come here to speak up. And I just want to commend you because now you are part of Georgia history. And just thank you for using your voice.
Representative Earhart.
Hey there. Thank you, Representative Bell. I just had a couple of questions, really just in some of the wording in your bill. I know that we've heard a lot of talk today about minor one-time offenses, and I can certainly understand the rationale on that we don't want just a single mistake that we make in our youth to limit our ability to attend college and receive the hope. But my question here in the wording is on line 24, a conviction for an offense involving marijuana or a controlled substance. That's a pretty broad definition there. So that would, I think the way that is worded, that would include things far beyond a simple one-time mistake or a possession, a marijuana possession. I mean, are we talking about here this the way it is worded? And please correct me if I'm mistaken. That could include manufacture and distribution of hard drugs. And I'm wondering under those situations that would not necessarily fall into the definition of a one-time youthful mistake. Is there anything you can tell me there about that, or have you considered, if I am interpreting it correctly, I'm just wondering if you have entertained the possibility of amending your bill to include, to limit it to possession.
You're interpreted correctly. The reason it wasn't limited to possession, because people are forced in survival economic situations where they have to choose between eating or keeping the lights on. And for those individuals, it's not just a clear one-time choice of how to survive. And if they had other options, they would. And by passing this bill, they would give those individuals other economic options so they wouldn't have to revert to the distribution that you speak of.
Okay, and then just one quick follow-up question, if I may. So this also means that either we are not limiting them from receiving the Hope Scholarship, let's say when they're in high school getting ready to prepare to go to college. It also means they would not lose the Hope Scholarship if they were convicted while they're in college receiving the Hope Scholarship, correct? So under this scenario, you could have a situation where someone is manufacturing and distributing drugs in college and is in no jeopardy of losing the Hope Scholarship. I just want to make sure I'm
Well, yeah, let the chair try to answer that. I mean, there's a couple of things going on there. I mean, if one has that situation, there's other criminal penalties. My guess is you would probably help me, Mr. Attorney. Would one be expelled or sent off from the campus if one were convicted of a crime like that? It wouldn't matter if you were Hope eligible or not. Yes, sir.
Well, specifically to Hope eligibility, if you were incarcerated for that offense, you would lose your eligibility for the Hope grant. So incarceration is a disqualifier for Hope.
Okay, did you have anything further?
Is.
Okay, so the what I'm hearing, Representative Bennett, is there may be some, we may need to work on the definition. I understand that it's broad. Some folks in the committee may want to see it narrowed down a bit, but, you know, that's a policy decision for each and every member if and as we can move forward. Representative Earhart, you were number 27, correct? All right. Representative Glaze.
I think Michael wanted to speak before he had
No,
his hand up.
are you good? Yes, sir. We're good. You're
Okay.
recognized.
That was the question that I asked earlier. That was the first question because it says or controlled substance. So now you're going back to the federal definition, and is there a possibility of making a friendly amendment and putting the actual definition into the document so that's clear? Because right now it's not clear. It just opens. It's an open. It's kind of open-ended.
Do you want to address that? I mean, we're not going to be, we're doing first hearing today, so we're not going to be amending on the fly, but you could work with them, could you not?
I could, although I will point out the primary thrust of this bill, in fact, is just to repeal provisions that were enacted.
Okay.
And so the language that's included here is effectively the inverse of what's being repealed. So multiple provisions in Georgia law said you shall be ineligible if. And we have, in this bill proposes to repeal all of those provisions, take them out of the law. And then on lines 23 through 25, there's just an affirmative statement that's essentially the mirror image of what used to be prohibited. So I think that's where the language is coming from. So currently, for example, in the Hope Scholarship, there is language that would make you ineligible if you had been convicted of a felony offense involving marijuana, controlled substance, et cetera, et cetera. That's being repealed from the Hope and other provisions. And then 23 through 25 is just an affirmative statement saying you shall not be ineligible because of that.
Representative Carter Barrett.
Just a question for Legislative Council. The introductory, line 2, is help me understand because I'm newer at this. Where it says repeal, it sounds like it's repealing the whole act, but the body of the bill looks like it's taking very specific things. So am I understanding that right?
That is correct. And so really section 3 of the bill in lines 14 through 18 is doing a lot of heavy lifting. So that even though that's a very short section and it doesn't include any statutory language, what that section of the bill is actually doing is repealing the provisions of the Drug-Free Post-Secondary Education Act of 1990 from the code sections that are listed there. So there are similar provisions in each one of those code sections. 20-3-395.4, 20-3-400.6, and 20-3-405.7. And similarly, in the HOPE provisions, there's language that was adopted to comply with the federal law, and this bill is repealing that. So even though it's only a few lines in the bill, it's actually doing a lot of statutory work.
Representative Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to clarify for FAFSA, like for the federal level, because this is supposed to be a parity bill. Do we know, and I don't know if Legislative Council knows, or does anyone know what FAFSA says about drug convictions? Is it specifically possession, or do they clarify that, or do they use similar language to what we have in the bill?
They use similar language to what's in the bill. It's not clarified by FAFSA. It's open-ended for any drug conviction.
Thank you.
Ms. Walker, we'll look into that. I'll take the representative on his word for what he knows. If you want us to confirm that with the Legislative Council, we can do so. Number 9 is that Chairman Dempsey. Yes.
I had a similar question to Representative Clark's. Just, I think since this is a hearing, when we look at it again and between now and then, it would be good for us to have that exact FAFSA policy to actually look at and compare the two. I'm not doubting your interpretation or what you've read there, but I think we need to be careful when we start opening up hope, I can tell you it's a very hard thing to do. There's a bill I've worked on for years to help with something there, and it's a very, very cautious walk because we have to make sure we have that money in place. So I think that would help us to look at this a little bit better, though. Thank you.
Last question, Representative Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just because the statement that was just made about hope, what about all these grants that we're approving? Will they have those same drug conviction restrictions on them, or are those open and that doesn't apply to them? Because I think that if we're going to look, we probably need to make sure that we're looking at those too. Thank you.
Your one question, we're on the plus side of the last question. Yes, ma'am.
Question, are we trying to cover all of this before crossover?
Well, I'm sure the gentleman would like to do that. I'm just being, I don't mean to be flippant about it. It's a serious subject, but I'm sure that is what the gentleman would like to do. I don't know that we will be able to do that. I mean, for instance, I don't think we've had anybody, I see Mr. Peavy walking in from TCSG. I don't see anyone from the university system. I don't know if they were here today or not, but to weigh in on that, I know they have some rules and regs relative to even admitting folks to the university system. So I think it would be a fair thing, realizing that we're constitutionally separated, from the direct operations as the lady knows. So I mean, I'm sure he wishes to try to do this, but while it has a lower bill number, I think you pre-filed it, so it really just got in a few weeks ago. I want to be clear that the gentleman came to me and we didn't get you up last week. We got you up the next possible day. So I wanted the committee to hear about it, but if it's not something that can move, many of us will be back next year if we do right by our 59,000 voters. So I did want to circulate it. I think it's a conversation that needs to be had. And so with that, we'll continue to work on that. Representative, I'm going to let you wind us up, and then we'll try to I'll get with you and we'll make a plan for forward movement.
Yes, sir. That's the clip. Well, thank you, committee, for this. I really appreciate it. All the speakers that came, your testimonies are valuable, and without you, this work couldn't be done. I just wanted to highlight that this bill is solely based on drug convictions. So if a person does anything other violent or something else that's heinous, they will still be ineligible. This is clearly about drug convictions, and this is a bipartisan bill from the left, the right, the red, the blue. It's a purple bill, so it's a good one.
Yes, sir. Well, I thank the gentleman for it, and we'll continue a conversation about that. I want to remind the committee, I see no further questions. I want to remind the committee, we're scheduled at 2 o'clock tomorrow in room 406. I am going to, as we leave here, work with the office to make that 2 o'clock or upon adjournment. We may have to wrestle with another committee that has that same deal, but we will try to meet as soon as possible after adjournment to look through some additional measures. But as those of you who have been here, more than once on as we go into crossover week, or if this is not your first crossover week, there may be a reason to get together on early next week, because crossover day is the 28th, and we have to do that. So if there's no further business before the committee, we'll stand adjourned without objection. No objection, we're adjourned.